Hey everybody, welcome to Live Q&A Wednesdays with me. I'm Darcy Hawkshurst. I'm the creator of the Vibrant Woman program. I am a founding member of certified MAF Method health coaches and practitioners based on the paradigm shifting work of my mentor and coach, Dr. Phil Maffetone. And I am the mom of a previously brain injured kid. Today am a little bit ruffled. I just landed with a skid in this seat on time because I decided after my long, hot bike ride this morning that I needed a little chill time in the pool. And I got the time kind of messed up and I was really chilling. And then I realized I have to be, like 6 miles away in Alive in like 25 minutes. So here I am, wet hair and all. Welcome to the middle of this heat wave in the summer in the Midwest of the US. And so I hope wherever you are, that you are taking good, beautiful care of that one body you got. And I'm delighted that you're here. I'm so happy to see you here. I did get a handful of questions to address for today. So without any further ado, I'm gonna jump right into those. And a couple of things. As I'm talking, I see viewers coming on and off live. I'm so happy if you can be here. I know this isn't a great time for everyone to be live. So as always, the recordings will be available here on my page and on my business page. I usually post them to Instagram as well, but I'll tell you the best place to get all the A's to your Q's is to come over to my YouTube channel and subscribe there. I upload all of these weekly videos to my YouTube channel and do my very best to put the topics that I covered that day so that you can continue to keep yourself informed. Because here's what I'm up to. This is a paradigm shift. Absolutely a paradigm shift. Because what I'm teaching people is about how to tune in to the innate wisdom of your body. It knows what it needs. It's trying to tell you. When we follow the wisdom of the body, we thrive in every way. When we're out of sync with that, when we're more in tune with the corporate marketers and their profit margins, we don't thrive, right? So the Vibrant Woman program is all about a revolution, really. It's about taking your power back. It's about tuning in to where the real answers will come from and following that to the best of our ability. Our bodies are so brilliant and wise. And it's amazing to me how many people can continue to do really bad things to their bodies, like eat junk food and not move and sit under fluorescent lighting all the time. And we lead these terrible lifestyles in our modern world. And look at our beautiful bodies doing their best to keep up with all of that. I just want to lift that up for a minute. So if you have aches and pains, if you have symptomatic issues happening in your body, my best advice for everyone is to really let's listen to what the body is trying to tell us that it needs, rather than cover up those symptoms and mute that voice with a pill. Okay? We really need to break this paradigm of symptom thinking. And hey, everybody, thank you for being here. Hey, feel free. I'm about to dive into my list of questions. Please feel free. I am making sure I can see where your comments go. But if you have comments or questions as I'm addressing the live, please chime in. Let me know where you are and what you want to know about. Okay, but we're here for a paradigm shift. I'm here for it. I'm glad you're here for it. And yeah, let's dive right in. So if you follow me at all, and in fact, I advise that you do, I'm about to read this question. Okay, you need to take a deep breath. Like I said, I'm racing from the pool and landed in my chair with a skid. I'm going a million miles an hour here. Question number 1. Darcy, your recipes have a lot of fat in them. Isn't that bad? Okay, now I want to answer this question, but first I want to tell you the recipes this person is talking about. This must be one of my email subscribers. I offer a free weekly e-newsletter, lands in your inbox, usually on Sundays. They don't all have recipes in them, but they often have recipes in them because a lot of people need to know how to change their eating. I've been at this for a couple of decades. As you know, I changed my lifestyle, eating habits, all of this basically to save my daughter's life. You can read more about that on my blog about her brain injury and what we did to help her outgrow it. But the idea is that then I hit burnout too. And thankfully, I already had these tools. I just really had to have the discipline and the space to learn to use them on myself. Nutrition is the most powerful tool in your toolbox. Most of what is causing harm in human bodies is what we put in them. So we really need to get our heads straight about what is considered food, what are we eating, why are we eating it. If you're having a bad relationship with food, or you're eating foods that you think kind of make you feel kind of bad, there's no shame or blame in that. You are absolutely not alone. You're a normal human in this modern society, aligned with the commercials that you see, and that there's a drive up on every corner. And there are ways to partake of, I think, the modern diet in ways that don't hurt us. But basically, what we need to do is go back to eating real whole foods, and we need to think more about these macros. So let's talk about this question. Are fats bad? Most of the recipes that I send out in my weekly newsletter, and I'm going to put the link over here if you are curious, come get on the list. You can unsubscribe at any time. There's no spam. You're going to get these recipes of mine, and they do often have a lot of fat. I offer replacements for baked goods. A lot of us miss the cupcakes and the muffins and the biscuits because a lot of people learn that they've got to eat within their carb tolerance, and the mainstream diet is way over their carb tolerance. So they think, well, I'm going to need replacements. Yeah, I know. I've been there. I wanted replacements too. That's why I spent a couple of decades perfecting these things so that I could have, biscuits with my chicken soup and fudge pops on a hot summer day, and, a birthday treat, for my daughter to celebrate family times. So my recipes do have a lot of fat. And let me explain why we think fat is bad. That's a little bit of brainwashing. It's a poor interpretation of some meta studies that were done several decades ago. And if you really want to go down that rabbit hole, it's fascinating to follow the path of sort of the science, how it was misinterpreted, how it was applied to public policy, and then rolled out as basically nutrition guidelines, from the highest offices in our land. It doesn't take much observation power to see where the low fat movement has gotten us in terms of public health. We're sicker and fatter than ever. We've got higher rates of cancer, diabetes, all the metabolic diseases. Okay, so I recommend that you read a couple of books. Why We Get Fat by Gary Taubes. Anything written by my mentor, Dr. Phil Maffetone, but especially the Big Book of Fitness and Health. Those two books, I think, are a good place to start in just to set the groundwork, the foundation of fat metabolism in the body and the public policy. Like I said, why we're confused, because we are very confused. All right, let's roll back. Humans evolved these big brains with a sophisticated cortex that allows us to do unique human things like language, reading, walking upright. These are functions of a very sophisticated brain that is more than 65% fat. Some studies now are even bumping that number up to the 68-70% range. And please excuse my restless canine back there. She hasn't had her walk yet. She can wait a few more minutes. So anyway, in order to build that big, beautiful brain, and for it to function well across the entire lifespan, which it is meant to, it is not natural for your brain functions to decline with age. Brain functions decline when they are not supported nutritionally. All right, that's really important to know. So if you want to support this big, beautiful brain and what it can do, you need to be feeding yourself enough fat, the right fats, healthy fats, so that your brain can build itself. Your brain and body build itself with what you put in, point blank. There's no other building blocks to use except what you give it, okay? So fat is really important for cognition, for learning, for memory, for so many things. Healthy, to be able to have healthy sun exposure, natural sun exposure, we're going to need a layer of fat under the skin. The problem with eating fat is if we eat the wrong kinds, most packaged foods today have fats that are the poly-6, the polyunsaturated fats. They're overabundant, they're pro-inflammatory. And most diets are too low in the healthy fats, the omega-6s, even the monounsaturated fats, even saturated fats, if they are from healthy, non-toxic, pastured animal products. all right? So the other place we get into trouble with fats then is if we have a metabolism that's designed, well, I should not say designed, our metabolism, our natural human metabolism was designed to burn mostly fat as well, okay? The early humans were very well fat adapted, which is why they stored little. They stored enough, but stored little. And we, because of our modern habits and because of our processed food, high carb, sugar diets, we have trained our metabolisms to burn sugar instead. So if you are storing fat, and especially if you're eating the wrong kinds of fat and burning sugar, then yes, it looks like eating fat would cause you to be over fat and cause problems. And really, we've just got this kind of mixed up. What causes fat storage is an insulin response to too much sugar, and that includes even the salty foods that are high in carbs that turn to sugar as soon as they hit your bloodstream. All right? So let me just rephrase for a minute. Eating the right kind of fats is absolutely foundational for your health. It's very, very important. Eating the wrong kinds of fats can trigger you to have more inflammation. So it's important to avoid those poly-6s. It's important to avoid any fake fats. So this is like the genetically engineered stuff. This is margarine. Don't eat margarine. Eat real butter. Don't eat margarine. And the fats are causing a problem being stored in excess on the human body rather than used for metabolic functions, including building that healthy brain, only when they are consumed in high amounts, the wrong kinds, in the presence of too many carbohydrates. So it's really too many carbs that cause us to get fat, not eating fats. We need fats for our healthy brain and for our moods, for our hormone balance, for our energy, for our sleep. So that is why so many of my recipes are high in fat. And they should be taken in the context of this entire healthy lifestyle that I'm trying to teach people through my Vibrant Woman program, which includes how to nourish the body properly. So choosing the foods that work for you, how to move the body properly, which is within your sweet spot of intensity. We'll talk about that here in just a second. We'll talk about heart rates and intensity. So there's a sweet spot for the way we move our body so that we're burning fat, not sugar. And then the way that we rest our body. A lot of us aren't getting adequate rest, deep enough rest, and restorative rest. So those are the three major pieces of the Vibrant Woman program. And of course, that applies to any human body anyway. But especially for women, then we talk about how those three pieces really affect our hormone balance. So hormone balance is important. And then, the conscious feminine aspect of using our intuition and getting more in touch with nature and the seasons and the earth cycles, and how all of those pieces really become way more than just 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 = 5. It's way more powerful than that. So I hope that answers the question. If you're curious, I definitely invite you to come and set up a free discovery call with me. I'm happy. I talk to people every week about if my program would be a good fit for you. It's really not for people who are still wanting to argue for their limitations. It's for people who really are ready to begin to make some changes, because it does not take long for your body to adapt. It's like when we remove the blocks to vibrant health, it's amazing. The vibrant health that will emerge. I mean, just look to nature. Nature is not out there like smashing up sidewalks and parking lots to assert herself. Like, she just keeps growing up through the cracks. And this is what will happen with your human health. If you remove the obstacles, your health will blossom and thrive, and it's amazing to watch. It's the joy of my life to be able to do this work. So I'm always welcoming more questions, follow-up questions. This can be a learning curve. It took me a little bit to learn this and to really get my head around that so much of what we see advertised and talked about in the mainstream media is it's confusing. It conflicts with itself in many places, and it does not address the root cause of the ailments we have in our bodies. So if we really want to make a difference, we have to address root cause. All right. Eat more fat, eat less carbs. If you want to know what your carb tolerance is and you want some help with that, again, reach out to me. This is question number 2. This person says, Darcy, I hear you talk a lot about low carb, but I think I thrive. I feel better on high carb. Is that possible? Well, of course it's possible. Here's what I want to say about this though. I really want to get away from using words like high carb and low carb. I use it as clickbait sometimes for my recipes because I know there are a lot of people out there searching for that. They realize they've got to cut the sugar and the starches and the carbs, and they're looking for low carb recipes. And I use that as a way to attract the right people to what I'm offering. But here's the deal. The truth is everyone has their own personal carbohydrate tolerance. The amount of carbohydrate that your body, my body, different bodies, everybody's got a different body, that it can metabolize efficiently without a dramatic insulin response that then causes a whole cascade of other inflammatory triggers. So sugar, refined sugar, and the foods that turn to sugar in the bloodstream they're the biggest no-nos in terms of the carbohydrates because those foods also don't really have any nutritional value. When we look at the whole food carbs, things like lentils or beans, some of the starchy vegetables, everybody's going to have a different tolerance for those carbs based on their genetic background. Okay, so we might have the genes for things like being at risk for diabetes or heart disease or for Alzheimer's, which is really type 3 diabetes now. We know that. But what turns those genes on or off, making that disease active or just a potential disease, is the environment. Okay, it's the epigenetics of the environment, the food that we feed our body, the way we move our body, the way we rest our body. So if you have a genetic background that predisposes you to having a low carb tolerance, if you also have a lifestyle that predisposes you, so the more active we are, the more fit we are, the more strong we are. Metabolically active muscle can burn more carbs. It automatically raises our carb tolerance. Now, to what? I don't know. So this person says, I feel better on high carb. And what I want to say is if you are thriving, you're eating the right amount of carb for you. If you have symptoms like sleepiness after meals, bloating after meals, lethargy through the day, especially in the late afternoon time, cravings for sugar or caffeine, increase like kind of steady weight gain, especially around your middle. If your waist, measure around your waist, if your waist measurement is more than, sorry, I'm going to say this backwards. Measure your waist. It should be less than half your height. Okay, so if 2 times your waist is more than your height, that's also a warning sign. Let's see, I'm going to get to some of the rest of them. A family history of diabetes, heart disease, or Alzheimer's. And actually on my website, I've got a whole list of the symptoms of carbohydrate intolerance. So the point is, if you have any of those symptoms and you're eating what you say is high carb, you're actually, you're not feeling better on high carb. You have risk factors for developing disease because of that. What a lot of people confuse with feeling better on high carb too is this. There can be some painful, bumpy, transitional things that we experience when we cut out the sugars and the carbs. I teach this, I walk folks through this one-on-one. Discovering your own personal carbohydrate tolerance, I hear time and time and time again, is a game changer, a life changer, an absolute eye-opening experience. And in my life, that is also true. That's why I'm doing this work. So the idea here is that there is no right number for you. Like there's Whole30 and there was the Atkins thing and there's paleo and keto. And a lot of teachers out there try to tell you, to follow their program and here's a carb number, stay under it. The problem with that is that maybe you didn't go low carb enough. And so you didn't experience the actual benefits of seeing what your body feels like without that insulin response. Okay? Or maybe you didn't do it for long enough. So maybe you weren't patient enough for your body to invite those cells to metabolically shift gears and step into a fat burning metabolism, which always feels better. There's plenty of science to explain why that is. And I'm a super science geeky person too. Like I love all of that, but I think for a lot of us, it's enough to just know if you feel better, it's better. So that's why I invite people through this experience to sort of just through a body feel kind of way. So that's what I'm trying to say. So do you feel better on high carb? Well, yes, but then it's not high carb for you. It's the right carb for you. And I just want to be careful too, because we all are kind of looking for examples. We listen to our friends, our other athletes. We look for, you know, the big fancy famous folks, you know, to guide us. We look at what they're doing and we try to replicate that. And my only caveat here is don't build your training or your diet on something you see somebody else thriving at. Take the time to figure out how you thrive. And for me, this is probably the hill I will die on. It is this idea that you need to take the time, the 2 weeks, to figure out what your own personal carb tolerance is. And then, you know, let's not use words like high or low. And I don't even necessarily want anybody to get attached to what those numbers are. I think for some of us, it's helpful to keep track and sort of take a look at those numbers and be like, well, this is how many carbs I've been eating the last few days. And this is how I'm feeling. I'm feeling better. So it can help us to sort of get our heads around it and give us something to shoot for. But really, the best experience of all is to watch your list of symptoms gradually go away, to watch the energy return, and to see how your physical movement improves and your desire to move improves. A lot of people ask me, Darcy, where should I start? You know, I teach a lot about the nutrition piece and the movement piece. And I used to say start wherever you feel called to start. What excites you the most, or what are you most curious about, or you know, where do you really feel inspired to start? And I've actually changed my tune on a lot of this. I really think we have to start with nutrition. For so many of us, we have addictive issues with sugar and carbs that kind of keep us stuck, and they can keep us feeling lethargic enough that we don't get out and move as much as we could, as much as we would be inspired to, if we had that metabolic issue cleaned up first. So that's what I say about that. So yes, people thrive on all different levels of carb. Super active, very muscular people can tolerate a whole bunch more carb than somebody who's just getting started, who's already got biomarkers for metabolic disease, who's been very sedentary, okay? And as you move along that spectrum, I call it, you know, the path toward thriving, you will find that your carb tolerance might improve. Improve meaning you could tolerate more the more active you are. And maybe not, you know, again, some of it has to do with family history and the genetics. And definitely the way to know is to watch your own symptoms. How are you feeling in your body? How's your memory? How's your sleep? How are your hormones? Okay, so that's the way to know if it's the right amount of carb for you. And everybody's different. Everybody's different. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. So, any follow-up questions on that? Thank you for being here. Those of you who are here, I'm so happy to have you here. Okay, I did get another one. You heard me talk a little bit about movement. So let's have question number 3 about movement today. Got a question about heart rate. What should my heart rate be in this heat and humidity? And should I be running outside? We're in the middle of a scorcher here in the Midwest, the heat wave. Haven't looked at a map yet. I don't know how the rest of you are faring around the country and the world, but super hot here. Heat index is like 105 today. It's, you know, 110% humidity. So here's what I have to say. I want to remind us all that the best way to know, so let's talk about this for just a minute. I'm going to back up. The question I got about heart rate was definitely from somebody already familiar with this method. So for those of you not familiar with the MAF method heart rate, there's a special formula that we use to make sure that we're exercising at an intensity that is not causing more stress to the body. Those of you who are in the more traditional mainstream exercise or fitness world, you might have been taught to use something called the 220 formula, which is, by all the people I follow and respect, has been really thrown out because it's shown that 220 formula, you know, minus your age and then times a certain percent, that has most people jacking up their sympathetic nervous system and creating all kinds of stress in the body. Okay, so we want to use movement as a way to promote health and healing in the body, that means we cannot be causing more stress. You need to wait a few more minutes. Lay down. Got a golden retriever on my side here. So what we want to do is use exercise as a way to lower stress on the body. And you do it by exercising at a much lower intensity than you would think. We really have been brainwashed to overtrain. We are brainwashed in this toxic belief system around no pain, no gain. I'll tell you, I did my ride this morning. I only did about 10 miles because it was hot and I started late, but I did my regular ride outside this morning. And even though I was exhausted, I feel like actually, I mean, it's time to stop and I'm home and, you know, it's hot and I have other things to do, but I'm not like, oh, thank God I made it. And honestly, I could have gone farther. I could have done another 10 miles and been fine, but I really didn't have the time. And yeah, it is pretty hot. So a good aerobic workout should have you feeling like you're glad it's done and you're glad you did it and you're really not exhausted after. It should not deplete you. It should not stress you out, okay? Most of us, when we feel exhausted after a workout, we've been working at way too high a heart rate. All right, so the formula for the MAF method, and the one that I teach in my Vibrant Woman program, is 180 minus your age, and then we're going to adjust another minus 5 or 10 if we have health issues, injuries, illness, if we're on medications. Some of us can add 5 to that if we've been working out for a year or more with no allergies, illness, injury, medication, and showing steady improvement. So it's a much lower rate than that mainstream 220 formula. That's first thing. Second thing is, what I want you to recognize is that when we do, well, let me say this first. Heart rate is really a wonderful biomarker to tell us about stress in the body. It's our stress meter, okay? If you eat something you're allergic to, your heart rate's going to show it. If you're not getting enough sleep, your heart rate's going to show it. If it's 105 with a heat index and 100% humidity, your heart rate is going to show it. So we need to honor the actual heart rate, not what we think we should be able to do. That's a little bit of that toxicity kind of creeping back in, you know, to drive us to do things that aren't actually good for us. So your body is always telling you the truth. Follow your heart rate. So what that means is, if you're working out outside in this heat and humidity, your heart rate is going to be unusually high because it's dealing with the stress of the weather. It's, you know, it's trying to circulate blood to cool you. It's trying to carry toxins away. You know, so your bloodstream is busy. Your heart rate is trying to manage all of this, and you need to honor it. So you need to stay under that heart rate. What that means is you're going to go slow. You're going to go slower in this heat and humidity. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It means it's good to keep moving, to be active, to do your workout, your bike ride, your run, or your walk if you can. So what I want to say is, a lot of those runs in this kind of weather during the summer need to turn into walks. And if you're just beginning to exercise, if like summer's your time to have more time on your hands, you're wanting to get more fit, you're wanting to take advantage of the longer days, more daylight, being outside, that's fine, but don't start by running. You need to start with a walk. You need to be looking at your heart rate and making sure that we're staying under it to honor this, the body's dealing with stress. So yeah, we're all going to be slower in this kind of situation. And do not let that fool you. Working out at what we call sub-max heart rate range, as long as you are staying in that aerobic zone, is extremely powerful for the body. You are continuing to condition. Your body will bounce back when we remove the weather. As soon as we hit the nice, cool fall temps, so many of us that have been doing this heart rate formula, feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm so slow, I'm not making any progress this summer. As soon as the body gets to lose some of that stress load, it's going to show us just how thriving and vital and vibrant it is. So just don't be fooled, please, by thinking that going slower means there's something wrong with you or that you're not making good progress when there is this kind of weather system happening, okay? So the question involved, like, should I be running outside during this heat and humidity? Again, I want you to trust your body. I am not an inside treadmill girl. I just have never been. I've never liked those things. So I tend to be outside no matter what. I go earlier. I pick a shadier route. Um, maybe I'm going to even ride a little less distance because as you go later into the day, it heats up. So that's me. If you are somebody who can't arrange to be outside at a time that's comfortable for you and it's better for you to be inside in the air conditioning, then absolutely. You can replace your run or your bike ride with dancing. You can replace it with rowing or a treadmill or anything that gets your heart rate up close to that 180 formula that I gave you and not over. Just not over is the way to think about it, especially when the weather is giving us this amount of stress. Okay, I hope that answers that question. That was a really good question because, so here's some signs then to show if you're, so some of the folks I'm working with are definitely using a heart rate monitor and watching those numbers. That's definitely what I do, especially when we have weather like this. Other folks, if you're just beginning and you're really just a walker right now, it is fine to not have a heart rate monitor and just to go by what we call the talk test. But it should be easy to talk. Okay, you shouldn't really be straining to talk. And here's some other signs to watch for. Okay, if you're exercising at too high of an intensity, or if the weather is really, causing you more harm than good, you'll know if you have signs of bloating or fluid retention in your extremities later in the day. If you have trouble with your sleep, okay, because that's a sign that cortisol is off, that we've added a little stress, a little too much stress with the exercise. If you have trouble with your sleeping, like you're waking up at that 3 a.m. time all of a sudden, that's a sign to ramp it back just a little bit in your exercise intensity. For women, we have a wonderful barometer of stress, and that is our hormone balance. So if you are experiencing any discomfort around your menstrual cycle, yes, you should notice changes during the phases of your cycle, but not problems. Okay. So anything that becomes a problem, like hot flashes, early period, too heavy a period, late period, any of that kind of stuff, then we need to dial back on the exercise intensity because it could be a potential stressor rather than a healing modality. Okay, so I feel like I've answered that as best I can. I do invite people to please keep moving. A sedentary lifestyle, sitting is the new smoking. That's not a joke. So keep yourselves active and moving through the day. Find fun ways to do it. Weight-bearing activity. Heck, even just walking around gardening and caring for our pets and our children, our families, and our homes. We can find ways to stay active and be comfortable so that as long as you're under that target heart rate, it's amazing how you really are making progress toward improving your health and your fitness and even your neurological state. So much of this has to do with the brain. So in fact, that is the topic for next week. I'm going to be back next week, same time, same place for live Q&As. I'll be talking a little bit about the brain and talking about, I've got some questions that I'm kind of saving for that to put, we're going to have a brain theme next week. And in honor of my beautiful birthday girl daughter, she will have a birthday next week. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how the Vibrant Woman program addresses our need to have a healthy brain through the lifespan and what that really means. And I can't wait to share more of that with you then. Okay, if there aren't any other comments or questions, I am going to see you all next time. Stay safe, stay well, eat healthy food, stay hydrated. Drink your electrolytes, especially if you're sweating a lot. Not Gatorade, real electrolytes. I did another Q&A on that, so go find that one. Okay, bye beloveds, take care. I'll see you next time.